Hello and welcome back to the next stop, the place where we talk about where have you been before and where you're going next. As you guys know, we have three segments on each episode of the next stop. The first segment is the previous stops, where you've been before. The second segment is the go to ticket, basically how you got to where you got. And then the third segment is the next stop, where you're going next. And as you guys can see today, we have an amazing guest, one of my other close friends, someone who I have a great relationship with, and someone who I've known throughout my time at Morehouse, and his name is Elliot Freeman.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
thank
sir.
you for joining us, Elliot. Would you like to give an introduction and kind of just introduce yourself to the people?
Yeah, I mean, so shoot, like Steven was saying, Elliot Freeman, a recent graduate of Morehouse College. I'm the founder of Funtime Media, and I've been friends with Steven since freshman year. We stayed in the same dorm. Um, we're part of like some of the same cohorts and companies, so definitely a good friend of mine. So definitely happy to be on here for the show, just to talk about my company and just any questions you got. So sure.
Yeah, no, it's definitely great having you on the show, man, because it's like we've known each other since, living in the same dorm our freshman year. So it's pretty cool, like seeing how far we've both grown and like, seeing where we come from and also like, still having the same friendship. Well, honestly, a deeper friendship. So yeah, no, I really appreciate you joining me. So what
For
was the
sure.
choice like to go to Morehouse? How did you decide that?
So I chose Morehouse. Really be through. I only applied to three schools. So like I'm from Austell, Georgia. So it's like 20 minutes outside of Atlanta. So I only applied to Morehouse, Ohio State, and UGA. And so all my family's from Ohio, so that's why I've always wanted to go to Ohio State since I was a little kid. And what's it called? Like my pops, he went to Howard. So me and him, we have a really good relationship. But I just told him like even when I was younger, like I was like, I want to be as successful as you, but like on my own route. So
Hmm.
I was like, I kind of wrote Howard off the list, and like I never really thought of like a HBCU really like honestly ever. But my senior year of high school, I toured Ohio State during spring break of my senior year, and then we went over there, and like the tuition was really high, and honestly, it was kind of the same as Morehouse, honestly. But my pops was just like, "Shoot, if you want to go here, you're gonna have to take a year off, live in Ohio for a year, and claim residency and cut tuition in half." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Dude, like, well, it's my senior year. I have senioritis. If I do that, I probably won't go back to school." So I was like, "Well, shoot, I'm gonna just." My one of my best friends from high school, he played basketball with me. His dad went to Morehouse, and he was like, "Yeah, like I think I'm gonna get you to go to Morehouse." And like he had like we had played basketball together. So like one time I stayed the night at his crib, and we had basketball practice the next morning. I didn't have no basketball shorts, and so he just gave me some basketball shorts, and they were Morehouse basketball shorts, and I still had the shorts to this day. And so like I came home with the shorts afterwards, and my pops was like, "Oh, where you get them shorts from?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "Well, I got them from Elijah's dad." Like he was like, "What?" And so like when we graduated high school, like his pops was like kind of joking with my dad, like, "Hey, like your son's going to Morehouse because of them basketball shorts." So like that's
Yeah.
always like kind of like a little running joke. So I mean, I definitely glad I made the decision to go to Morehouse. Definitely, made some good friends and everything. So definitely was a good decision. So yeah,
Now that is pretty funny. Like I feel like Morehouse, like the beautiful thing about Morehouse is like when having these conversations with a lot of people who went to Morehouse and graduated, like it's you didn't really choose Morehouse. Morehouse kind of chose you. It's kind of
yeah,
a weird thing, but it's like the whole way that your dad said you would have to go through all these different hoops to go to Ohio State, and then later you get some Morehouse shorts, like and you meet someone else that went to Morehouse.
yeah,
That doesn't happen by mistake, and it's like all the
no,
relationships that you made and the impact that you have had on campus. It's like you wouldn't have had that anywhere else, or the same fulfilling experiences.
mm-hmm.
So it's pretty dope, like just hearing the story of how you kind of naturally went to Morehouse. It's kind of funny though what your dad did, because usually, like one thing I notice is sometimes when people don't want you to make a certain decision, they'll make it hard for you. So your dad made it hard for you to go to Ohio State.
Yeah, he was like, I mean, he was. We really literally sat down. I remember it was me, him, my sister, like, and we were like at like Zaxby's. We would go to Zaxby's like all the time. Like it was like right around the corner from my crib, and we were sitting there eating, and I was like, dude, honestly, I don't know like what to do. Like I
Yeah,
don't know like what I want to choose, and like, I mean, he never really came out and said it like this is what he did, but like I kind of always look at it like I feel like him having me choose Morehouse over Ohio State was like kind of, he didn't say anything about like, oh, take. I mean, it's a little bit different because like I was already in Georgia, so it
Yeah,
wasn't a situation where I could stay in the state, claim residency and everything like that, and cut tuition in half. But I felt like I was kind of looking at it like, well, he probably wants to put money into like HBCU, something like that, just because he's an HBCU alum too. So I don't know. I was like, well, it was like I said, it was a good decision. But I did literally remember him saying like, yeah, like you gotta take a year off, and I was like, what? Like I was like, dude, like the way Ohio is, like there's no knock on Ohio. Like all my family love them, but like out there, I just know like it's not a whole lot of like opportunity out there. Not definitely not as much as it is here in Atlanta. So I just knew like I was like, well, if I live out there for a year and feel like I can provide for myself without school, like I probably won't go back. Like I won't really see a need to go back because I already kind of have figured out in my head like what my life will look like for the next couple of years, whatever. So it was definitely a good like something I never forget. So
yeah.
definitely cool. Yeah.
No, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Like, but one thing that we kind of talked about on the last episode, and one thing that you know I kind of noticed, like especially with people in Atlanta, location is so important, and people kind of don't talk about it. Like the opportunities and experiences that you have in Atlanta wouldn't have been the same in Ohio, like you said.
Hmm.
And it's like because you're in Atlanta, you got exposed to so many different things that you might not have had the opportunity to. So that's something that's really interesting because it seems like that plays into everyone's journey of like trying to figure out themselves and what they want to do. Because it's
Hmm.
like if you're not in the right location or in the right place, you're gonna completely miss the opportunity.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. I mean, I'm glad. Like I said, I mean, I'm very appreciative of like just being out here, and like you know, just being able to just have all the experience I've had at Morehouse, and that was like one of the things I kind of, I guess, like appreciated about just being at Morehouse was just like, even though I'm from Austell and like, shoot, when I was like pretty much the whole time I was at Morehouse up until like maybe like the end of my senior year, like my parents they lived like 30 minutes away. So like even
Yeah,
though they were right there and I could like literally go home like in a like just like that, like it never really felt like, my parents are right there. Like it wasn't like I have like they were always there for me, but it wasn't like they're like I'm sheltered and like that. Like I everything I experienced at Morehouse, like I was like it was like good, like it was a real college experience. Like
yeah,
how Morehouse is, so it's like it
yeah.
really like it'll force you to grow up. So it's like it was a good time since I was there. So yeah.
No, that's real, and that's good that your parents gave you the space to actually grow and flourish. Because it's like sometimes people are like helicopter parents, and it's like you can't really do that. Sometimes you have to let your kid fail once or twice, and then be like, all right, like this is how you move forward from that.
Yeah.
Because that's how sometimes you need to learn a lesson. So I kind of want to talk about like how has Morehouse helped you chase your dreams and helped you figure out what you want to do with Funtime Media. We're gonna get to Funtime Media very soon, but
Mhm.
I want to start like talking about like how how Morehouse kind of got you there and gave
Yeah.
you these some of these different experiences.
I mean, I would say I don't know. I mean, like I would say, like Morehouse really helped me, like kind of open my eyes to, like I guess, like kind of shaping what I want to do. So I mean, I came into Morehouse. I wanted to be a sports analyst. And so like, of course, that's not. I shouldn't say of course, but I mean, like but I mean, like that's not what I want to do anymore. But even when came into Morehouse and I was like, I remember like coming in and I was like, yeah, like, I told like one of my old, like, I guess like kind of like a mentor figure now, like I would definitely say like a mentor figure to me. His name Tucker Toole. So
Yeah,
he was on campus like when we had like our orientation week and everything. So yeah, and so I was talking to him like, I wasn't talking to him. I was talking to another student who was like I think a senior at the time, and he was like, yeah, what do you want to do on campus? And I was like, well, I want to be a sports analyst. And he was like, well, I know the perfect person for you to talk to. And so he connected me with Tuck, and I got to talking to him and got connected with Maroon Tiger, and then like I was kind of on from there. And so like I feel like Morehouse really kind of helped me, like I guess like going back to like shaping like what I want to do. I guess more so helping like with like the networking aspect of like just getting to know like different people and what they do, and like getting to actually know them on a personal level. Because like I would say like during the first year at Morehouse, that was like my main thing. Like I was just, I mean, I always kind of like just talking to new people, and just getting to know them. But like being in like involved with different organizations that I was involved in on campus, like and being forced to like shoot even through NSO, like having to when you introduce yourself, say a Morehouse intro, like something like as simple as that, like it as a Morehouse student you might kind of take it for granted, but like once you get into the real world, it's like wow, like I just said a whole little intro in like 2 seconds, and it's like little stuff like that. It was like kind of helping me like just get prepared for like the real world and like just being able to interact with different people. And like I guess on the going back to the networking aspect, just like when I'm talking to different people, like actually sitting there and like figuring out, okay, what can I take away from like that conversation? So like
Mm,
I even like shoot, even this conversation, like it's
yeah.
who knows what this conversation gonna lead to, but like the whole purpose going into it is the podcast, but afterwards, like shoot, I could learn something that I didn't know about you before. So I always like try to think about that. And then like I guess like going into like professional space, like I said, just like being able to pick and choose like what I want to take away from a conversation, and then go on about that like however I want to go on about it. So I would definitely say Morehouse like kind of helped me with in that regard, and like in a networking aspect. So yeah.
No, that's definitely real. Like people don't talk about it, but it's like your network if is your net worth. Like that means so much because it's like you're not going to get exposed to certain different opportunities if you don't know the right people.
Hmm.
And it's like the right people can really prepare you. Like I know from like my experience, which is similar to yours, like when I was at Morehouse, I said I wanted to do all these different things, but if I didn't know the right people, I wouldn't have gotten exposed to those opportunities or
Hmm.
they wouldn't have shared the resources with me to, be exposed to the correct knowledge. And that's the whole point of this podcast to introduce different people and to allow you all to tell your story so other people are inspired, but so they can also use the resources that you use to be successful as well.
Hmm.
And it's like it's important, especially in our community, because it's like, like we're underserved and we don't have the same privileges as some of our counterparts. And because of that, like we really need to work together and uplift as many of each other as possible.
Yeah.
So I definitely get that. And I feel like you said, like you should always listen to what other people have to say. Like even if you don't agree, you should at least try to listen and understand their perspective.
Hmm.
One thing that Isaiah always tells me is, eat the fish and spit out the bones in the sense that like take the good, listen to it, take it in, understand it. If something doesn't make sense or it seems dumb, spit it out. Don't deal with it.
Hmm.
You feel me? Act like it never happened.
Yeah. No, that's shoot, that's definitely a good like kind of phrase to live by. I mean, definitely shout out to Zay, man, because definitely a good guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say like definitely like even in that like that's one thing that I've kind of like learned even just being at Morehouse, just like everybody like that was like the one thing that I like really enjoyed just about just being in college in general was like man like it's people coming from all over and like of course, when people talk about their own school, their alma mater, like, they'll be biased because they went to school there. But like, that was one thing I was like, man, like, folks is coming from all over. They got different backgrounds and everything. They didn't learn. Who knows who, however they got here, they got here. They're
Yeah.
here, so they learned something. And so like they all have different ideas, and so like I always be like, okay, like but you're forced to be in the classroom to sit there and listen to whatever they gotta say, like anything like even like you were just saying, like even if you might not agree with it, like you still gotta listen to it. So it's like that's the real world. Like sometimes you're forced to be in like meetings that you don't want to be in and like listen to people that you don't want to listen to. But at the end of the day, like what I'm saying, they say what they gotta say. You probably say what you gotta say, but you just take it, take everything with a grain of salt. That was like one of the big things that I learned at Morehouse because shoot, everybody knows like because people come with so many different ideas,
Yeah.
people could be saying a lot of stuff that is just kind of far left. So it's like it probably doesn't even apply to anything that you have going on. It's just like they had to get that off their chest. But they're talking to you. It's not like you blow them off. You just take it with a grain of salt. Like they were saying, like what I'm saying, eat the fish, spit out the bones. Like if you don't think it really applies, what I'm saying, that's when you can use your discernment and then like kind of go about it that way. But you don't want to just blow somebody off just off the rip. So
Yeah. And it's like the thing about Morehouse is at the end of the day, you guys know that all of us we're all Morehouse brothers, whether we disagree or not.
yeah.
And like we take that very serious, and we know that once we graduate and we step out into the real world, because of our skin color, we're gonna face the same challenges.
Yeah.
No matter how you look, how you operate, what you believe in, at the end of the day, you're a black man, so you're gonna face the same
A
issues as
black
all of
man.
us.
Literally. Man.
But let's transition to fun time media. Let's hear the origin story. A very interesting origin story.
Yeah, very interesting origin story indeed. I mean, so I always start off. I mean, like I said, so I mean, I start off came to Morehouse. I wanted to be a sports analyst. I kind of got away from that over the pandemic. And I got away from it because I start off like I was saying. I got connected with Tucker, and like got into Maroon Tiger. So like once I got into MT, I was a newspaper organization on campus. So once I got involved with that, I was kind of doing like I was an intern. So I was trying to work my way up into being like in front of the camera. And so they were like, well, if you want to be in front of the camera, you got to learn the behind the scenes first. So I was
Yeah,
like, all right, I respect that. Like, what I'm saying, I can learn that, whatever. So, but initially I had like 2 or 3 videos that didn't get like, I was like in the process of like putting them together. Like I had like, we would have to be on the sideline getting footage or whatever. And I was just shooting on my phone. And so like I would just get the video footage, send it in, and then I would see a video get put out, but it had nothing, like none of my clips are in there. So I was like, dude, like this kind of sucks. Like I'm wasting my time. Like,
yeah,
dude, like, and I mean, I'm just starting out, so I'm thinking like, oh, this is the toughest thing I done had. Like, my work is so good, whatever. And it was like kind of like a hard pill to swallow. Like, I was just like, okay, maybe it's not so great. So, oh, then the pandemic happened like freshman year. So when we got sent home, I still had like the clips and everything that I had. And so like this this might sound a little like, oh, this dude like whatever, but you gotta also understand I was a freshman and I was like still like slight way to interest too. So like I had recorded footage for what's it called? Grant Bennett. He had him. Who else put that
yeah,
together? Grant Bennett. Man, I can't. Forgive me if I don't remember the other names, but like he was. I know he was one of them. Like
yeah.
I was interested. So like he was over the Mamba tournament. Like after Kobe died, they had the Mamba tournament. So I recorded some of the video
Oh yeah,
or some of the
it was like Grant Bennett, John Jack,
yeah.
Rico Velli. Who else? I remember that whole thing. Yeah,
Yeah, so they had it. It was in Archer. So like
yeah,
I had recorded on my phone, and so like that was some of the clips that I had, that I still had, and I never like we never got the video put together. But I remember working on it, and I was like, well, whatever, it didn't get put out. So I was like, well, shoot, I'm gonna just make my own video. Like I'm not tripping. I'm just gonna get a free software and make my own thing, whatever. So I put together like it was like a tribute to Morehouse because I was really missing campus and
yeah,
everything. And I was like, dude, like I had like footage of folks like at Hump Wednesday. I had footage from like Stroll. I had footage from like just NSO, like just
hmm
different things that are like kind of staples for Morehouse. And so I put it all together, and I didn't know how to edit at the time for real. So I was like, well, if I just put everything in black and white, it'll look
it'll
good.
hit,
So
it'll
like, I was
hit.
like, and I was like, that's kind of nostalgic. I'm like,
Yeah,
well, it's in black and white. So I put it together, and I was like, dude, like I'm finna put this up. So I just put it up on my Instagram, and then folks was liking it, and like it was like folks that I was like, dude, like these are folks I kind of look up to. Like it was like folks in the comments, and I was like, these folks were in the comments. I didn't even think they knew who I was. So I was like, dang, like they actually kind of rocking what I'm, putting out. So I was like, well, maybe I'll kind of start taking it more serious. And so then like little by little, then like after I put out that project, I just kind of put it out really just for fun. And then like I was still bored. We were still at home, so I started making other videos. Other people, like other friends, started reaching out to me for other video projects. And then like I started getting more involved with like I guess the graphic side, like kind of during that same time. So then I was like, well, I think I want to make an actual page where I was trying to separate my personal page from my like video and graphic page. So I
yeah.
was like, well, let me just make a name for the page. So I was literally sitting in my bed, and I had just been on what's it called, TikTok.
Mhm.
And I was like, I think a name, like a good name. And I love like old TV shows. So I was like, I feel like a good name for a page be like Good Times. Like I was like, that'd be a good tough little name, like,
Yeah,
Dynamite. I'm like, all right, that would be tough. I looked up the page on Instagram just to check and see if it was already a name, and it was already taken. So I was like, well, dang, now I gotta rethink. And I was like, I'm not gonna think that hard. I'm just fun time media would be cool. So I was
Yeah.
like, well, let me just make that. And then I just got on I opened my laptop, and my mom, she was already paying for, she had been paying for like Photoshop since I was in like high school. I just never really used it because I never really had a need to. So I was like, well, shoot, I'm just gonna ask my mom if I can just get on the Photoshop. I'm gonna just make a logo real quick, and the logo really on the pants. Like I'm
Right
just
here.
standing real quick, but the
Yeah.
logo really on the pants. So this is the original logo that I had, and so I had made it on the computer. I was like, well, let me just try to do some little different things, like turn the E backwards and put the. I knew I wanted the media in cursive, so I was like, well, shoot, that could be cool. So I just made it real quick, and like the very first post that's on the page, like the anniversary for it actually just passed. It was on the 10th. I made the page on December 10th, 2020. So
Wow. So
yeah,
Funtime Media is 3 years old now.
yeah, 3 years old.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, it's a 3 year old company. So like, it's definitely been like, I mean, I've seen a lot of growth in it over the time. So I mean, that's kind of how it. That's really how it started. And then like it was kind of just on from there. I kind of just started getting involved with like more things, like just more events like more events and like organizations on campus. And so like that's kind of what I want to do like in the real world, but that's how I started.
It's crazy how Funtime Media kind of started because Maroon Tiger wasn't taking you serious.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, like for real.
but you took that into your own hands and said, "Nah, forget Maroon Tiger. I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna put
Yeah,
this video in black and white and put it up."
yeah.
And you said, "Wow, this jump, wow, like this is
I was like,
hitting."
I was looking at, I'm like, dude, like, and I had posted. I remember I had posted a video and went to sleep. Like I usually never post like on social media. Like I like to post on maybe like 6 to 8 is like a good time I'll post.
Yeah, yeah.
But like at night, like I don't really post, and I'll post and then just put my phone down. I'll try to, or if like I see comments rolling, I'll just like them. But like
It'd be cool when you see all the comments
yeah,
come
I
back
was
after you
like,
come
dude,
back.
I'm like, I posted in the
Yeah,
morning at like 8 o'clock, and I was like, bro, whatever. I'm just post it, and then we'll see how it goes. I posted, I went to sleep, I woke back up, I see my phone is blowing up. I'm like, dude, this is crazy. Like, folks is really rocking with it. And I was like, it was more so, it was like kind of like encouraging for me because I was like, well, this could be cool, and I honestly like never took it as like a like even though that's kind of how it did start, like because I was like, well, MT wasn't taking me serious. Like that was what I needed. Like it was
mm,
like it, I
mm.
kind of look at it like, well, even though I think I can say MT wasn't taking me serious, I have to also remember like at that time, like the I didn't have the skill set I have now. So like
Yeah.
I still have a lot of growth to I still have a lot of ways to go, but I definitely have improved, but if I was not at that level when I first started. So like it's definitely like kind of a I guess like a I don't know learning curve is the right term, but like it's just like something like a just kind of like a reminder to myself. Like every time I look at like even when I wear these pants every day, I'm like, damn, like I ain't even a cuss, but I'm like
It's all good.
every time I look at the logo, I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, like I really started this because like somebody was like, well, whatever, and like I always kind of think back to like the Disney, like Walt Disney, how that whole thing started. The Walt Disney was like going into like different offices and like getting into meetings and like presenting the Mickey Mouse idea, and folks was like, "This is so stupid. Like they're not liking it." And I'm like, "Look at Disney now. Like they got a
Hmm.
whole Disney World. Like they got a whole Disney park." So it's like little stuff like that. I'd be like, "Okay, like say I'm 3 years in now, so like it definitely making improvement. So definitely like proud of myself for that one for sure.
Yeah, it's like you got to stay down until you come up.
Literally stayed down. I was over the pandemic. I was in the crib, like, I mean, I also did it, and I really never like. I remember the first time I had got like the first video I ever did for any amount of money was $15 video, and it was like a one of one of my friends. He was like one of my friends. I went to like really. I grew up with him. He was doing like a video for like a brand that he had a brand he had going, and he wanted me to like put the clips together for him, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll pay you." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "How much do you charge?" And like, I never heard of. I was just like, dude. Like literally, if you go to the first page, the first post, it literally says, I think the caption says something like, "I'm doing this for fun, but I might start taking it serious." And I said it. It was kind of like a play on words because Fun Time Media.
Yeah.
But like, I was actually serious about it. I'm doing it for fun, but I might start taking it serious. But I never thought of like, oh, I could start making money off of this or nothing like that. Like it was nothing, and I that could have very well been my mindset because it's over the pandemic. Like folks are doing all types of stuff to make money over the pandemic. Because I mean, everything was closed, so it's like I could have definitely done that. But I remember like when I first heard, oh, you wanna pay me for this? I told my mom. She was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, and I was like, dude, like, I don't think you understand. Like, I'm gonna make money off of this. Like, this is kind of crazy. So it's like that always is like a motivation for me. And like, I remember when I first started, I had like talked to one of my other like kind of mentor figures. He was like one of my coaches for Stroll and everything, but he does videography. And so like when I told him, I was like, yeah, like I think I want to take videography more serious. And he was like, yeah, like one of the things that I'll never forget when he told me, he was like, one thing that you want to make sure when once money gets involved, you want to make sure that you keep the joy in there too. Because he was like, once it starts getting to a point that you start feeling like you're completing a task for somebody, that joy is not going to be there. So you want to make sure that you kind of keep your ideas like kind of young and keep them rich. Because like after that money starts rolling in, you'll start being like kind of more so focused on making the money and making the video so you can make bread off of it rather than like producing a good product.
I
So
agree. It's like, you know, they have that saying where it says like, if you work every day doing something that you enjoy, then it's not really work. And I truly believe that. I feel like once you get caught up so much into the money rather than the purpose, you're essentially becoming a slave to your work,
mm,
and that's not bringing you any joy. And life is too short to not be doing something that actually brings you joy.
mm,
So I feel like it is important to keep your purpose and your passion, especially for something that's your business,
yeah,
because that's what it's for. That's why you're doing it. You're not doing it for money. And it's like if you're doing something for the right reasons, the money will come.
yeah. I mean that's really where the slogan like enjoy every moment it came from. Like that comes from like two things. So like it comes from, I mean, of course, at the time that I made the video, I mean it was during the pandemic, so it was like I made the video. I kind of like, this might sound like a bite, but it's like it's not really a bite. Like so, like I kind of like how Nike has like just do it. So I was like
Yeah,
I want something kind of similar to that, but not like a encouragement to do something, but like it kind of is like you enjoy every moment. Like
you wanted a slogan.
yeah,
Yeah,
so like I was like I feel like that's something that like it's kind of like a good like I guess depiction of like my personality and like kind of like I guess like what I stand for. So
yeah.
I'm always trying to find like a way to like have fun. So like regardless of what it is, I'm always trying to have fun. So like it came from just because of the fact that like we were on campus freshman year, like the first semester, and then second semester we just got it taken away. And at the time, nobody knew like when the pandemic was gonna be over. So I was like, well, dude, like whenever we finally get the chance that this is all over again, like or this is all over and we're back to normal, like I just wanted to make sure that I kind of remind myself to enjoy the moments that I have, just because like even just getting it on a like I always like kind of think about like just the power of like a video camera. Like you can never watch something live more than once. Like only watch it once. After that, it's like literally it's we're watching this live once. Like that's it. And after that, you can go back and rewatch the same thing, but it's not gonna be exactly the same. But it's like at that point, it is what you make it. So like at that point, you gotta enjoy every moment. And then it also kind of just stems from like what's it called? I have a younger cousin. She passed away from cancer like right before the pandemic happened. So like she passed away and she passed on February 25th. So like our freshman year. And so like during the time when she was like kind of battling the cancer, I never saw her like sad or like kind of feeling down and like that, or like making anybody feel like they had to feel down for what she was going through. She was always just like kind of happy. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Even though she's not here no more, like that can be something that also kind of reminds me, like, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this, you know what I'm saying? Yes, it's a business. I'm, doing it to make money, but like, I'm not doing it for that. Like, you know what I'm saying? This
Hmm.
is something on the side right now that I want to work my way up into something bigger. But even when it gets to the big point that it's got a big skyscraper and everything like that, like I gotta make sure that I keep in my head, like, enjoy every moment. Like you don't want to lose yourself in this. So yeah.
That's real. That's very real, and that's kind of a perfect segue to the golden ticket segment. So, like, what were some of the things that you had to learn to be successful in fun time media? And then, what are some advice that you would give people who are interested in doing the same things as you?
Um, One thing that I learned from having this business is that a lot of times people people don't know exactly like what they want to do. Like they might think they have an idea, and they might have seen like, okay, like a lot of times when people like kind of bring like a, I guess like a project to me or something like that, they'll be like, okay, can you do this? And I'll be like, okay, well, my first question is like, of course I ask them like when they need it done by, but I'll always ask them like, do you have a reference video or graphic that you've seen? Because a lot of times people will get those ideas like they don't just kind of just come out of nowhere. They probably seen it somewhere, but after that, like usually they don't really know like what they want for real. Like a lot of times people be like, oh, I'll just give you creative direction, and like that kind of like hurts sometimes. I'd be like, I'd be like, dude, like
Yeah,
man, like you giving it to me, but it's like, I mean, that's kind of what they come to me to do. Like, I'm the creative, so it's like I gotta take on that role. So that's one of the things that I've learned, and just also just I think another thing what was I just about to say? Another thing I've learned like with the business is just like, I guess like kind of, I guess really just showing people that, like, in order for people to take me serious, I take myself serious.
mm,
So like one thing that one thing that I always like really appreciate, like, I mean, it's our line brother Ricky. So like he has a business too, um, and so what is it? So he has a business as well. He does like fashion and everything. So with the business, he one thing that he told me, he was like, you got to be mindful of the words that you use when you're talking about your business, and he was like, you don't want to ever present it as like, you don't want to present, if I presented my business as, oh well, it's a, just a small little business, I do like videography, I'll shoot my camera or whatever, like no one would take that serious like at
yeah,
all. Like they're just
yeah,
like, okay, like he probably just does it for fun, whatever. Even that first post, like, I'm probably just doing it for fun, but like it had a logo on it, so people still took it seriously. But he was like, if you the way that you brand yourself is the way that people will perceive it, like that's how to take it on. So that's one of the things that I've kind of been, working on, and just making sure that if I get into like a conversation with somebody, I'm making sure that I'm, branding myself the right way. And I guess like as far as like advice, um, I don't I don't want to say the whole like cliche like, oh, chase your dreams, but like, I mean, seriously, I would say seriously something kind of along those lines, like really just, I would say if you have an idea, I would say just kind of try to flesh it out. Like just once the idea kind of pops up in your head, just like try to write it down or something like that.
yeah,
Because like you never know like where that idea is gonna go. And like if you got the idea on the paper, like you yourself might not know exactly what you want to do with it, but like let's say, I don't know, like I don't know, let's say I had an idea. Let's for fun time media. Like I had an idea for that, and I was like, all right, I think I want to create a videography page, and I'm like, but I don't know exactly where I want to go with it. But then I run into you, and you're like, well, shoot, I want you to make me a logo for my podcast. I'm
yeah,
like, oh
yeah,
well, I never even thought of that. Like, okay, and so just make a logo, and then I post it on my page. You post it on your page. That's two businesses working together, and then we go on from there. So you just never know where this stuff is gonna take you. So I would say just like get started with it as early as you can, especially for anybody watching this in college. Like definitely on a from a creative standpoint, I would definitely say like get as many friends that you have now, like get all them involved. Just like do like little things for them on the side, like little projects just to build like your portfolio for yourself. So when it's time for you to go into the real world, like you have that, because like you're that's one thing I've noticed. Like I've noticed like that I really appreciate about just being in school. I mean, we're out now, but like we were in a collection of people who were in full support of anything we had going on. Like
mm,
anything. Like we say, okay, we're gonna do this, they're supporting it because it's like they know who we are. They know like what we kind of stand for. They know we're not up to no bad, nothing like that.
Yeah.
So, but now we're in the real world. It's like these people don't know us all the way. Like they don't know exactly what we're capable of. But if we have the work that we've already put together from college, like we can show them, like, oh well, this is what I've done before. So this is why you should, get on to what I'm trying to put up. So I guess that's my biggest encouragement to anybody.
Yeah, like I feel like college is the perfect time to start any business that you want.
Yeah.
Just because it's like you're gonna have the most amount of resources for free. And you're gonna have, well, you're paying for the resources because you're paying for school, but you're gonna have outstanding resources that you didn't even think about that you could use. Then you're gonna have a whole network of people who are there to specifically help you with whatever you want to do. And
Hmm.
then it's like your audience is right there. Like all your peers and your classmates are gonna help you out. So it's
Literally.
gonna help you take off your business like and help it grow exponentially. And it's like you said, like that portfolio that you have once you graduate is going to be amazing. And it's like a lot of people don't really recognize that most college students aren't doing things like this. So that really does put you in a different field.
Hmm.
And you kind of talked about how like with any idea you have, it's important to start. I feel like that's key, right? Because everyone has a great idea,
Hmm.
right? And I can give you an idea, right? But you might not act on it, so you're not going to be as successful as me. What people get caught up with is like not actually acting on on their ideas. Imagine if you didn't act on the idea to make that post. It's like you wouldn't be where you are at with Funtime Media today,
At all.
where you have graphics, you have videos, you have clothing. Go cop the merch, like all that. Like like sometimes it's just important to start because you never know where you're going to go with it. And it's
Hmm.
like if you start, then you can actually work with something. You can be like, I like this, or I don't like that. Let me cut that. And it's also like you can go find other different people who are doing the same things as you or who might be further along and be like, hey, bro, like, how did you get here? Like, can you give me some advice on what I should do with this, what I should do with that? Because people are more than willing to work with someone that has like some actual product or thing to show. And
Hmm.
it's like people want to work with winners. And it's like if you're showing that you're winning by doing your own thing individually, people want to be like, hey, I helped Elliot out. Hey, I did this. Hey, I did that. Because that's a win for them too.
Do people do love to that is definitely another thing that I've like kind of learned is like people do love to like they get a thrill out of just helping like in the early stages. Like there's definitely people that don't like to help, but for the most part, people like to help like in the early stages. They like to see people they like to see like young people succeed. So especially like when it gets big, that's like always like something I always hear like, oh, don't forget about me when you get big, and I'm like, oh, appreciate it, like so
Yeah.
I'm not a forgetful person. Like I like to I would like to say so for myself. And that's one thing I like to work on every day. But what I'm saying, I don't like to forget people, but that's definitely something they always say. Oh, don't forget me when you get big. So like I know I like to help people as well. So definitely a common thing for people.
Yeah. So, I mean, Elliot likes to help people. So, if you're interested in doing some of the different things that he does, y'all should hit him up.
Definitely, definitely.
Y'all should definitely hit him up. So, I mean, like, where do you see Funtime Media going in the future? And when can I cop some more merch, bro?
Um, so for the first question for where I see Funtime Media going in the future, so what I want, I guess like once I kind of realized like I could really go somewhere with Funtime Media. Like my long term goal is to have it be like be the largest creative advertising agency in the world. And so like I want Funtime Media to be like essentially like the hub for all companies to get any graphics done, any commercials, any type of merch designs or anything like that, like anything like that. And that might sound like, oh, that's so crazy, but like that's
Yeah.
really that's what I want. So and I know that's not gonna happen overnight. So like my goal is to pretty much like I guess like work for other companies that are in a sense similar to it. Like all companies, that's one thing I've also learned. Like every company needs a commercial. Every company needs an advertisement to get out their product. So,
Hmm.
um, even if I'm not working in the I guess a creative space of the company, I can learn like the other parts, other aspects of the business that make up the business. So then when my business is up and booming, like I'm at the head of it. I can know each part of like the people that I'm hiring, all my employees and everything like that. So that was like that's like where I wanted to go, and have like a big skyscraper for it and everything like that. And so
That'd be hard. That'd be
yeah,
very
so like
hard.
that's like my long term goal. And so like
Yeah.
and like that's like in the process of getting there, just like I said, like continue to work for other companies and just still do my business, and then like just kind of I guess like just keep pulling ideas from different people in different places, and just like putting them to I guess like turn them from an idea to actual reality. And as far as merch, really, I just gotta. So the merch thing. So this is a, this is the. I guess like this is like what I don't really be telling everybody. So the merch, like I guess like the merch idea. So I had got the merch idea from one of my cousins. He lives in Ohio. So like me and him were real cool. It's like really him. It's like yeah, it's like four brothers. So like they all two of the older ones, they like make merch and everything. They got their own
Hmm.
brand. So shout out to Reinvented Studios.
Shout out them.
Um so yeah, so that's where I kind of got the idea for like merch, and I was like I never like thought of like that was something I could do myself. And so then I was like, well, like I had already done these sweatpants with Brian, for Honesty Global. So shout out to Honesty Global. So
Shout out
I
Brian.
did that was like my first piece of merch. So
Yeah.
like freshman or not freshman year, sophomore year. And so I was like, well, I went to Ohio over the I guess like the winter break, and I was like, I think I could probably do it again. So I just decided like I had like kind of mock-ups, and then I just put it together. So the unfortunately, what happened with the second like so I had one batch of merch, and it was really good, and then the second batch that I had, it actually got stolen from like what's it called from my apartment, from the mailroom of my apartment. So like I got the shipments came in, and then I was like, oh, this is cool. I went to the mailroom and they were not there, and Steven was literally in my apartment when it happened. Like I
Yeah.
literally like for it was like for maybe like a week or maybe like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe four. Like Steve was asking, like, yeah, like what happened to the merch? Like, like when it's gonna be here? And I'm like, dude, I'm really trying to figure out myself. Like, I really don't know. And so finally he came. He was in my apartment on the couch, and I was like, oh, the merch just came in. It's just at the mailroom. I went to the mailroom. I came back. And I was like, dude, there's only one box, and it was supposed to be like 50 orders. And I was like, yeah, it's only one box. And I'm glad that yours is in here, but the rest of the orders are not here. And when I tell you, like, it wasn't like those orders were like, they were pre orders. So it's like, they were like, the sweatsuits together were $80, and like that's what I had charged. So that's what people paid, $80. So they sent their money in, and then so like that's kind of how it was like. I guess like that's kind of how I ended up making the money off of it. But I had to send all that money back to like each of the customers, and so that really kind of hurt me a little bit. So like that's why for a good minute I was just like, man, I don't know if I could do this again. Like it kind of hurt a little bit like of my confidence. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was just like, man, like that's not a good look. Like I don't want people to think like, well, this
but,
dude doesn't know what he's doing. But
but the streets still want the merch, and that's not your fault.
yeah, that's very true. That's encouraging. That's very encouraging because I
Yeah.
was like, dude, like, but people. That's also the thing. Like, that's one thing I had to also like kind of get better at is like getting out of my own head. Because like until
Mm.
I told that story just now, there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that don't even know. I just told that story to my mom like the last time I saw her for Thanksgiving. Like,
Yeah.
so she didn't even know. So I like really it's just a matter of just getting the right manufacturer, and just putting the merch together. But I'm more than likely gonna actually supposed to be working with Brian to put out some more merch pretty soon. And I'm probably gonna end up working with Ricky as well to put out some other merch as well. So just definitely be on the lookout for that. And that's not a empty promise. That is
Yeah.
actually definite.
You hearing it
So
first.
yeah, y'all are definitely hearing it first. So when it comes out, just don't forget. So yeah, like yeah, that's really what I'm working on right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you have to realize like you can't be too much in your head. Like that's where like ideas die, and also like being in your head too much can cause anxiety and fear. And fear is false evidence appearing real.
Hmm.
So it's like you can't get caught up in that. You just gotta ball out, and it's like people still want the merch, bro. People
Yeah,
need the merch. The streets want
man.
it. The streets need it.
When I be seeing people wear the merch, I'm like, dude, like, wow, like I really made that. Like, I don't know, it's kind of it's a different feeling. Like I didn't really think I would feel like that until like I started seeing like people would wear it. Like, and it's like not like I'm like, oh, you should wear the merch. Like people just wear it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, like this is kind of cool. So definitely always like kind of like a good like kind of encouragement and like sometimes I'll have it on and like people go, oh, where'd you get that? And I'm like, oh, actually I made it. Like they're
Hmm.
like, oh, how can I get some? I'm like, well, like that's pretty I
Yeah.
just be like, that's pretty tough. Like, I'm pretty sure other people that other that's why I like definitely it's like a excuse me, it's a whole different like I've had the business Funtime Media for 3 years, but I've been doing the merch for this is probably like coming up on like close to a year now. So
Yeah.
it hasn't been that long, but it's definitely I've been learning a lot of different things. And like I definitely apply like everybody who has their own like fashion business. So what I'm saying, just learning different things from them and just being able just seeing like what I could still provide while I'm still learning.
So I have two rapid questions, maybe three. First rapid question. No explanation. I just want to hear the answer.
All right, bet.
Who are three people that come to mind that you want to work with?
Three people that come to mind that I want to work with. Uh, let me see.
They can be famous, people that you know every day. But rapid
Um,
rapid questions, quick answers.
I would say one, David Flowers the third. He just graduated from Morehouse.
Yeah.
He works for Polo now, like Ralph Lauren. Two, I want to work with probably Ryan Kid Weeks, who also graduated from Morehouse. He graduated like a couple years ago. And I can't remember who he works with now, but he did it like he does videography now. But um, and then lastly, probably I don't know his last name, but his first name is Malik. And the brand that he has is Steezy Worldwide.
Hmm.
If you ever heard of Steez, it's like a popular brand like in the Atlanta area. Or it's really kind of out there, pretty big now. But me and him grew up together, so I've been seeing him like really get up like what he has going on. So I think that would be cool work with him.
Cool. What three professional organizations you want to work with?
Professional organizations. Let me see. Mm, I would say Nike. Nike for sure. Um, let's see, Nike. Let's see any other professional organizations. I would say AT&T. Shout out to AT&T.
Yeah.
Um, and then
You don't want to work with New Balance?
I mean I could work with New Balance. I could work with New Balance. I just never
Yeah.
thought of that. I
You
never
know, I'm
thought of.
I'm trying to get that New Balance sponsorship. That's why I was saying
Oh
that.
shoot! Shout out to New
Shout
Balance.
out
We
New
can
Balance.
shout out to New Balance, bro. We can definitely get right with New Balance, bro. That would be tough. I'm not gonna lie. That would actually be really tough. I think I got a lot of ideas like of like how what's it called when Chase or Chastain he when he did his campaign for SGA he did
Yeah.
like a New Balance that was his like campaign like slogan or whatever. I thought that was really cool. So I was like, I feel like this could be something that could be smooth. And New Balance is really like coming up, especially for like the DMV area. Um,
Shout out DC.
yeah,
The DMV too.
yeah. So I mean, it's really coming up. I mean, they got the whole DMV club in the AC. So, and they just had the little New Balance like kind of, I guess like for the Ebo reveal. So that was pretty cool. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And my last question: who are three people that you want to see on the next stop?
three people I want to see on the next stop. One I would definitely say Amani Murph. Um,
Okay.
He's real cool. Definitely. I mean,
Shout
he's
out
a
Murph. Shout out
yeah. Shout
Murph.
out Murph. Definitely our LB and everything. I think he'd be a good fit for the show. I'm trying to think. Hmm.
It can be people, groups, anyone.
Yeah. I mean,
It can be famous people.
yeah. Man, it's a lot of people. I don't want to leave nobody out, bro. I'm trying to think of like women. I don't want to keep saying like men. Um, I would say, mm, from I would say Nale.
Okay.
Nale is cool. She real
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
She does hair and everything. She also I can't remember what her job is now, but I know she still does hair, so
yeah,
that would be cool. And she had like a really good like she built a good clientele in the AUC. So and when she came back, that was cool. She came back and folks hitting her up like immediately, like she
yeah.
came back for like vacation or whatever. So I was like, dang, that's tough. Um, and last, I would say, I would say first floor. I would say first
FFP.
floor. Yeah, shout out FFP, man. I would definitely say FFP just because that's like a good like collection of like folks. So
No
it's like
mimosa boys.
I mean, of course, most boys too. I was gonna add that in there. I was gonna throw it in at the end, like yeah, like let's do. It. But like
Yeah.
that's why I really like. I mean, like shoot, shout out to Murph because like Murph is definitely he has like kind of his hand in
Everything.
yeah. So like
Everything.
yeah, he really does. Like I would definitely say like he's definitely like even though I would say like it's not even like a people might say oh he's kind of dick riding. Like I'm not trying to dick ride like, like I'm not trying to do that. But like
Yeah,
realistically, bro, I would
yeah,
definitely say like Murph is like one of the people that I would say like he's definitely around the same age, but like definitely somebody who I would say like I almost kind of like look up to, like just because I'm like man, like he even though Murph always crack jokes, like he crack jokes all day long. Like I could
hilarious guy.
literally, I could like crack jokes with Murph all day. But I'm like when it's time for him to lock in and really hone in on what he wants to get done, I'd be like wow, like proud of this dude, bro, like for real.
Yeah,
So I mean, shoot, he done first floor, muscle boys, like you know what I'm saying. He really got it going on. So I would definitely say he would be a good fit for the show. But yeah,
but yeah, Elliot, I just want to say thank you for your time, bro. I really appreciate you being here, sharing your wisdom, your
for
information, and
surely.
just your story with the next stop. You know, it's always a pleasure, bro. And we about to kick it. We about to actually hang out and go out after this too.
Yes, sir.
But
Shout out Peter Street.
shout out Peter Street Station. But again, just thank you. I really appreciate it, bro. And we're looking forward to see what you do at your next stop.
Most definitely. Shout out next stop. Yes, sir.